What's up, Star Wars fans? Today we are going to talk about lightsabers, and specifically the lightsabers you can get at the Disney parks. Now here's one of these Savi hand-built lightsabers. Great experience, tons of fun, I highly recommend it, but I will warn you, you go down this road, and the next thing you know, you might develop a lightsaber problem. You get home, the family sits you down, they're like, this is a lightsaber intervention, dude. My wife's like, is that a new lightsaber on the shelf? And I'm like, what are you I think you need glasses or something. Okay, they were 30% off. That is definitely a new lightsaber. Now, I'll say this. In the lightsaber world, these are actually pretty affordable. Custom movie replica lightsabers can be like $500 plus. These are about $175. Well, they keep on jacking up the price on me. So for what you get, a lot of value here. I'm not going to get into everything. I'm assuming you kind of know something about these if you're already here. A couple big drawbacks on these. One, when you swing them, that whoom, whoom sound doesn't really follow your motions very well. The other one is the blade, and that's what today is all about. The blade that you can put in these is kind of dim. It lights up in these like chunky sections. There's LED banding, the colors aren't always accurate, and so the blade is also a big problem. You really can't solve that whoom, whoom issue without taking these things apart. There's no way I'm doing that. However, the blade issue has pretty much been taken care of by Jaymoo from Etsy. This is a custom blade that goes in the Disney Sabers, and it solves pretty much all of the blade issues that these things had. And that's what today's all about. We're gonna go into this. When I was researching this blade, I couldn't find all the information I was looking for, so I thought I'd make a video, and I hope it's helpful for you if you're checking into this thing as well. If you haven't seen a stock blade actually light up, I'm gonna show that to you real quick here. So I've got a Darth Vader hilt, and when I turn it on, you'll notice it comes on in sections. So let's turn it on here. So there we go. Turn it off, same thing happens, it turns off in sections. Turn it back on. And if we can get in here and see the banding, there you can kind of see what that looks like. It's more evident in person, but you can see even on the phone here, we have some banding going on. Now, if I go to the end of the blade, the end cap is just kind of weird. Like it's this weird kind of clear thing. I mean, it's not great. It kind of looks unfinished. So not ideal there. So, you got a blade, it lights up, it looks pretty cool, but you're like, man, can this be better? And the answer is, the Jaymoo blade is definitely better. All right, I showed you the Disney blade, I gotta show you the Jaymoo one now. Let's let this thing speak for itself. Much more smooth ignition animation. Same thing when you turn it off. Nice and smooth back and forth. And one, if we zoom in here, no banding, but I don't know if you can pick it up very well. There's a little bit of a flicker effect going on there, which is very much accurate to the movies, because lightsabers in movies don't just have a solid glow, they have that little bit of a flicker, that energy kind of flicker to them. And also, if we go to the end of this, we'll notice here, much more finished at the tip here. Rounded off bullet look, that looks great. Again, much more movie accurate, much more finished. And I love that flicker. Makes it seem just that much more realistic. So way better overall, and I love that smooth animation on and off. Okay, so now we come to the issue I've had with other videos, and that is because of the way the cameras adjust their exposure, it's hard to tell, is the Jaymoo blade brighter? How much brighter is it? That whole thing. So we got the Disney blade here, turn that on. Jaymoo blade here, turn that on. And it's brighter for a second, and then it adjusts, right? And now they look the same, even though they're not. And even if I try to manually adjust the exposure here, even that doesn't really show the difference between the two. It's better, but it's not perfect. So my solution is I downloaded a lumen meter for my phone. This can tell us how bright things are. So we're going to test the lumens for the Disney Saber. We're going to test the lumens for the Jaymoo Saber. I'm going to give you those numbers. I can cover 5 of the colors for the Disney Sabers. I can do red, blue, yellow, white, and green. And so we'll test each of those. I'll give you the numbers for those. I can't do the lumen meter and also record, so you have to trust my numbers. I will try to show you in video the difference between each of the colors, but keep in mind, because of the way the exposure works, it's not going to look perfect. But I think those numbers are going to speak for themselves. All right, here's my highly scientific setup here. So we're gonna use a couple lightsaber boxes, one for the lightsaber hilt, one down there at the end. So I'm gonna keep the base of the blade about in the middle here. I'm gonna keep the end of the blade, you know, right where it is there. And we have the, pretend like that's my phone. My phone's gonna sit there measuring the light coming off of the blade. And for each color, we'll do the Jaymoo blade, we'll do the Disney blade. I'll give you those numbers, and I'll also do a side-by-side video so you can see them together. Again, keeping in mind with the exposure weirdness, it's not gonna be perfect, but I think that, along with the numbers we get, are gonna give us some really insightful information. And I'm laughing because I'm going, you are such a nerd doing this. But you know what? Hey, it's kind of fun, and I think the information is gonna be good to know. Let's take a look at red here. So we got the Disney blade here, and we've got the Jaymoo blade. And I'm gonna tweak the exposure just a little bit. And that's more accurate to what I'm seeing. Actually, both blades are much more red than you're seeing in the video here, but that's a little more accurate here. So Jaymoo blade, definitely brighter in red as well. Yellow has been giving me fits, so I've tried it like 5 times. It's not cooperating. I'll show you what I got just so you can see it. So Disney one first, yellow, get the Jaymoo one going here. Yellow, then it shifts to white as the exposure changes. If I try to tweak the exposure, it's not great. That's still very, very washed out. I can tell you this, in person, the Jaymoo blade is much more of a pure yellow. The Disney one is kind of a greenish yellow. It's got a lot of banding in it, so not real great, and I'm sorry it's not showing that better. And I can't even really tweak the exposure to make it make sense. So, I don't know. You gotta take my word for it on this one. Let's check out green. So Disney one first, followed by the Jaymoo one. Adjust that exposure a little bit. That's the more accurate to what I'm seeing. So still kind of washed out on the Jaymoo one. It's definitely more of a pure, nice bright green. The Disney one is a little bit muddier, definitely more banding in that blade, but big difference. Jaymoo one, again, looks a whole lot better in green. Let's do blue next. Disney blade. There we go, and the Jaymoo one. And that's actually pretty close to what I'm seeing. Again, the Jaymoo one looks a little washed out as I'm adjusting that exposure, but again, the Disney one has the banding in it. The Jaymoo one, much more of a pure blue color, and looks a lot better than the Disney one for sure. Let's check out white. So here's the Disney one, and then the Jaymoo blade. This one probably has the biggest difference between the two, and the Jaymoo blade looks much more accurate to the Ahsoka white you see on the show. The Disney one's kind of a bluish, cool white. Big difference between these two for sure, as far as brightness and just overall color. So Jaymoo one looks way better than the Disney one. Now you probably noticed this is a Qui-Gon Jinn hilt, but this blade was all sorts of different colors during the testing process, and that's because you can change the color of the blade on the fly. Now I chose a blade that has 8 colors, so the 6 normal colors from Galaxy's Edge along with orange and teal. They all have that flicker energy effect, but with Jaymoo, you can customize this thing like crazy. Different effects, different animations, and you can see all that stuff on their YouTube page. Really cool stuff. I kind of like the pure colors from, you know, the shows and movies, and so when it's in its default mode, it says, oh, okay, Qui-Gon Jinn hilt, you should be green, which it is. And it'll follow the color for the hilt, so if it's Darth Vader, it's red, and so on. But if I reignite this blade before it gets all the way down, we can change the color. And you can cycle through all the different colors just by doing that, and eventually end up back where you started from, which is in the default mode, which is the follow the hilt mode. And so that is another cool feature of the Jaymoo blade. Now from the just wait, there's more section. If you have a Kylo Ren legacy hilt, you get kind of a bonus animation with the Jaymoo custom blade. Now this is the stock Disney setup. If you turn that on, you get this kind of cool flicker effect, trying to mimic, you know, what Kylo Ren's lightsaber is like in the movie. And they do a pretty good job. There's still the banding, you know, it's still not super bright, but they do a good job with, you know, the blades they have. So let's go ahead and check out the Jaymoo blade. If you remember, the default mode for the Jaymoo blade is to follow the hilt that it goes in. So if it goes in a Vader hilt, it's red. If it goes in an Obi-Wan hilt, it's blue, and so on. So when it goes into the Kylo Ren hilt, this is what you get. Very cool ignition, you know, sequence along with this flicker, fire, unstable thing going on. It doesn't affect the crossblades, but that's fine because everything else looks so good, like you don't really pay attention to that. And then when you turn it off, you also get a cool animation with that as well. So even though the blade that I got has 8 colors with the flicker, you get kind of this bonus Kylo Ren profile when you put it into a Kylo Ren hilt. So very cool feature. All right, I know what you're thinking. You're like, he actually put this stuff in a spreadsheet? Either one, you're really excited, or two, you're like, this guy really is the biggest dork ever. But anyway, here's the information. I'm not going to leave it up here very long. You can pause the video and check out all the info. But you can see that the Jaymoo blade definitely is brighter for sure, either by percent brighter or just by how many times brighter it is. So quite a bit brighter according to these numbers. All right, so let's wrap it up here. So this blade is better in all ways than the stock Disney blade. It's brighter, you've got the smooth animation on, you've got the light flicker, you've got the smooth animation off, the ability to change colors, all sorts of customization options. You know, with that all said though, it's not cheap. The blade itself is more than one of the legacy lightsaber hilts. So a lot to consider with whether or not this is right for your collection. So hopefully I laid the information out in a way that is helpful, makes sense, and helps you decide whether or not this is right for your lightsaber collection. All right guys, enjoy, and we will talk soon.